Greetings, I'm Leo Mazo. We're here at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts with Yasmin Williams. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Richmond Sessions 2223. We're so glad to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. This is an incredible setup. Wow, super stoked.
Well, I hope it was worth reckoning with I-95 on the way down here.
Absolutely worth it.
So the studio that you're in right now is sort of a gallery that itself is part of a larger exhibition, obviously. Mm-hmm. So we're calling this space and this aspect of the exhibition, this project, Richmond Sessions 2223. And Richmond Sessions 2223 features a recording space, which you're in now, within the exhibition, Storied Strings, the Guitar in American Art, organized by the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. This exhibition includes about 125 works of art and 33 or 34 guitars divided into 17 themes ranging from politics, gender, and blindness to race and ethnicity. Linking these themes is the premise that the guitar, as a visual motif, not unlike as a musical theme, has long enabled artists and their human subjects to tell stories that otherwise might go untold or undertold. And this aspect of the exhibition, Richmond Sessions 2223, in turn is a showcase for contemporary musicians like yourself to record songs that demonstrate the power of the guitar as a means for telling stories, invoking universal themes, and weighing in on myriad events. Yeah, Yasmin, can guitars communicate and express in a language all their own?
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of exemplified by something that I've kind of noticed now that I'm touring internationally more and just speaking to other musicians, or guitarists specifically. Guitars doesn't require any lyrics, so you can speak any language and understand what the guitarist is trying to convey through their instrument. And guitar definitely speaks to multiple aspects of what music can do. It speaks to someone's soul, it speaks to someone's intellect, it speaks to all of that. And guitarists can definitely use the fact that, or at least instrumental guitarists can use the fact that guitar as a vessel it seems to speak in different ways than other instruments are capable of.
Well, your guitar in particular seems uniquely poised to, talk about not needing lyrics. Your good guitar, can you tell us a little bit about the instrument you're playing?
Sure.
It's a beautiful instrument.
Thank you. I'll describe it a little bit. I've been told it looks a little funky because it has these little holes on top of it. I think it's a really cool look because the holes are natural wormholes. The guy who built it, Eric Weigeshoff, his company is called Skytop Guitars. He built this guitar out of basically he just found the top wood, which is teredo-holed Sitka spruce or mollusk. Teredo is a type of mollusk. And he just kind of salvaged it and repurposed it to make this guitar, which is really cool. And the back, I'll just flip it over.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, the back is a fungus. The back is spalted tamarind, which is spalted just means it's a fungus. And it looks really, really cool. I don't really know how to describe how it looks. It looks great. That's all
it does
I can say.
look great.
And it sounds great too.
And this is your main touring and recording guitar?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this thing. It's definitely allowed me to speak probably easier than I ever have been able to speak through any guitar.
Can you play us something recently that you think really brings you and this particular instrument to life?
Sure.
Wow. That's one wonderful. Nice harmonic ending to the song, too.
Thank you. I love a good harmonic ending.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that strikes me about this is your attention. I mean, you have a lot going on with chord voicing and rhythm. But more than some other songs of yours, I guess, I feel like there's a renewed attention. Well, maybe you always pay attention to volume, but here it goes from so soft and gentle to like a symphony that then starts to recede.
I appreciate that. You are correct in that this song definitely pays attention to dynamics more than 80% of my other songs. That's on purpose, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah.
When did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar at 12 years old because of Guitar Hero, the video game.
Nice.
And I had rock band also, but Guitar Hero was definitely the one that inspired me to become obsessed with getting a guitar. And honestly, I can say that was the first thing I've ever become obsessed with. Like day and night, I was just thinking about, okay, I really want a guitar. I don't know why. I really like this video game.
Right.
And I beat the game, and then my parents got me a guitar.
Very nice.
And yeah, I've just been playing ever since, just teaching myself.
Did you go through many stages of interest in rock or blues and?
Yeah, so Guitar Hero has a lot of rock songs and some metal songs, but the majority of it is rock, whether it's classic rock or hard rock or even metal. And I became really, really into metal and hard rock.
Like who, for example?
Like hard rock, probably like maybe AC/DC, Iron Maiden,
I never went.
Slayer.
Okay. Nice.
The people who play fast, essentially. The faster, the better for me at that age.
Yeah.
Like Paul Gilbert and Buckethead and people like that.
Okay.
And I had never heard that. I hadn't really been exposed to that style of music ever growing up, so I just thought it was really cool, and I was already angsty anyway, so it was perfect.
The perfect match.
The perfect music for the perfect time in my life.
Sure. And you went to NYU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what did you study? Were you at Tisch School of the Arts?
I was not in Tisch. I was in Steinhardt. We don't like Tisch, but it's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. The mix-up's fine. No, I'm just joking. I studied music technology at first because I thought I wanted to work in a studio.
Yeah.
And that seemed like a more viable career path in music than trying to become a full-out professional musician. But I switched to music composition and music theory because I figured out I like writing music more than studying the physics of sound or whatever.
Sure. In your Tiny Desk concert, you tell a story about your freshman year at NYU. You didn't know many people, and it's on a Friday night, and you end up writing a song when you had nothing else to do on a Friday night. The song is called On a Friday Night. And I realized that this song requires a loop station and
this one doesn't require a loop station, but it does require the little hammer, which you so graciously lended me a Sharpie to replace.
Great.
So we're going to use that.
Great. Okay.
I'm going to see how that goes.
Wow, there is so much going on in that song. You certainly enlivened a Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I have to say that it's been a while since I had listened to that, and I forgot about the sliding between the frets, especially downward, almost of a vibrato or a tremolo sound. Almost. Is that unique to this song, or do you do that in other?
It's actually pretty unique to the song, and it wasn't there at first. I really don't remember why I added. I think I was just trying to, just come up with something cool to work on because I had nothing else to do at that point.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I think like a couple hours in the writing, and I was like, oh, I should add a slidey thing. Just that's how I feel right now.
Can you tell us about the tuning that you use?
Sure. I'm in. Oh, let me not lie to you. Hold on. There we go. Now we're in tune. I'm in open D. D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. I love this tuning, basically because it's hard to sound bad in it.
That's a good reason.
It is what it is.
Well, it sounds good.
Thank you. Standard tuning, it's just not my cup of tea, really. Open tunings are a lot more fun.
Are there some other tunings you find yourself going to?
Yeah. Keeping this A string at a B is interesting to me currently. D minor, open D minor tuning I use for a few songs. Yeah. Open G, which is a common kind of folk tuning, I guess. I use that. Got that tuning from Elizabeth Cotton, actually. Yeah. There's some other ones.
Do you ever use Dadgad?
No, that's the one that eludes me, that people tell me all the time. Why don't you use Dadgad? And I just don't get it.
Well, seems like you're doing just fine with that.
Thank you. I hope so.
An F sharp. I'd say so, yes. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of Elizabeth Cotton and other women in blues?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So representation is extremely important, right? And that finding her randomly on YouTube was probably, was definitely the most like representation I've ever experienced in terms of just being a black woman who plays instrumental guitar pieces. Not saying that's all she does, but a lot of her pieces are instrumental, and she wrote them, and she plays them extremely well into her 80s. And if that's not like, that's something I really want to aspire to be able to do, because some of her songs are extremely difficult for me to play now. Sure. So if I can play like that at 80, that'd be really cool. But yeah, her and other players like Algia May Hinton, I'm a huge fan of. Ed Baker, they all play really uniquely. They have very interesting styles. Like Algia May Hinton can play the guitar behind her head while buck dancing.
Can you say her first name again?
Algia.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
Behind her head.
Behind her head. She's playing the guitar behind her head, like finger picking too, not just, an acoustic guitar.
I wonder if that's where rock stars,
maybe.
The whole machismo of...
Exactly. But I mean, they're using distortion and an electric guitar to kind of, she's using acoustic guitar, and it's very easy to mess up. I've tried.
Right. Less room for error. Sure.
Exactly. But players like that definitely show me that it's okay for me to be doing this. Not that I need them to exactly show me that, but it's extremely nice and valuable to know that they exist, and we're extremely ahead of their time, and it is nice that there's a precedent for what I'm doing, because sometimes it's rather lonely.
Sure. One of the things this exhibition deals with is the guitar as a tool for self-empowerment and empowering others.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty recurring theme here. I know. I got my Yasmin songs confused, for which I apologize. After the Storm is the one that uses the loop pedal.
Yes, After the Storm, yeah.
Can you play just a little bit of the middle of that, and when you're done, tell us a little bit about how that related to the protests? And
That's part of it. So the first part that I actually wrote for the song is the part that I would need the looper for. But it's basically that melodic motif, and I layer it with these really, in my opinion, very pretty overdubs.
They are very pretty. Yeah.
Thank you. And the story behind that is I wrote the climax of the song first, and I think that was like, I'm not sure why that happened actually, but that's what I wrote first. And I attended a few BLM protests in DC when things were kind of at their apex, like summer 2020. And I came home later that night after like just seeing people it was a mess. People were destroying neighborhoods, and people who didn't even live there were destroying neighborhoods, and police were just being extremely aggressive, and things were boarded up, and the fence was up at that point, and it was ridiculous. And I came home and I finished the song, and I wrote the first part of the song 6 months prior, and I'd just been thinking about it, I hope I finish the song at some point, but I'm not really inspired. And then I came home and wrote everything else in I think 2 hours.
So when it hits you, it really hits you.
Yeah, because I think for this song, when I wrote the climax, it's very beautiful, and I just felt like I needed that at that point. I just needed to finish it because I don't know. I wanted to try to remain hopeful about the state of the country at that point, even though what I had just seen at the protest would probably dissolve all hope in most people. Yeah. I didn't really want to go down that route, and I wanted the last song on the album to kind of just have a more hopeful tinge to it.
Your album, Urban Driftwood.
Yeah, Urban Driftwood. Mm-hmm.
For those of us listening to it, I think it's a meditative piece, and
for sure, that's exactly how I was feeling at that point. And I wanted to meditate on something positive instead of meditating on destruction and
which is its own way of understanding and coming to terms with fathomable, horrific events.
Yeah.
You call it After the Storm, and indeed there's some interest in nature and environment. And on a very different note, you were talking about a song that you've been working on regarding cliffs.
Yeah, the tentative title for that song is Cliff Walk. Even though Cliff Walk is much more recent, these things can be related in terms of that. It kind of explains my way of thinking about things. Whereas for After the Storm, it was definitely meditative and meditating on an event and on just what was happening socially in the country
Okay.
and more kind of like macro level thinking. Whereas Cliff Walk is kind of more, it's a more personal song in terms of like it's about me and something that I was doing, but it's still me being meditative and kind of reveling in a moment like I was after the protest too. So the songs are actually pretty similar. They're just about different things. Or the way I wrote them is pretty similar.
Sure. Can you give us a taste of that?
Sure.
Wow. So much for you not playing really fast. I mean, you have some quick phrasings in there.
Thank you.
And it's outstanding. I like that. Are you working on you are working on an album right now?
I am working on a new album. Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kinds of things we might expect there?
Collaborations, for sure. Guest artists. Maybe vocal or two. Not for me.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the songs definitely have a full band feel to them, and well, it's required. So it'll be a really cool kind of progression from solo guitar to just a full all-out band, and that's the goal anyway. And I'm getting some friends to come hop on, and some really cool. I've managed to make some really cool friends over the last year.
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
I'm very excited.
I think we are too. So, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the tapping and
Yeah.
and what it does?
Tap shoes?
Yes.
Yeah. So it allows me to basically keep the beat going of the song or establish a beat in the first place. In Cliff Walk, I'm strumming a lot, and it is pretty fast, so my hands are busy doing other things. And this is what I came up with on stage at Newport. I improvised basically the last 3/4 of the song on stage when I played Newport Folk Festival for the first time in 2021, and which is ridiculous, but that's what happened.
I know, improvising in front of
It felt like a moment.
many thousands of people.
It worked out perfectly.
Apparently.
But yeah, tap shoes just allow me to establish a beat or keep the beat going. As Gitka is an example of that, where I am playing a beat with my hand sometimes, but once my hand becomes busy, my right hand becomes busy doing something else, I have to keep the beat going with my feet because that's the only option, really.
Gotcha. Can you play us another song or two that is tap heavy, you might say? Is that the right word? That engages?
I can try. That's one. And actually, I can play part of Through the Woods, I think.
outstanding.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. I notice how much the guitar moves as you play. It moves along with you.
It does, which is not ideal. I've learned to move it back where it needs to be mid-playing a lot. But
Sure.
also, these pants are kind of slippery. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, guitar moves with me. I move with it. We're one.
Is that song as fun to play as it is to listen to?
I love playing that song, and I'm glad you asked that
Yeah.
because it's.
What makes a song fun to play?
I really don't know. I've been trying to figure that out for a while, because some songs I really like to play, like "I Wonder" or "Dragonfly," 2 songs off Urban Driftwood, but I wouldn't say they're fun.
Okay.
But I really like playing them. There are other songs. Swing, the song I played before Through the Woods, the little part of it, that is not fun to play because it's just very difficult.
Sure.
And Through the Woods is just fun. Although Through the Woods is one of my most difficult songs to date, I would say, in terms of just.
So for you, a song can be difficult, really difficult, but fun.
Yeah, I
at the
think
same
for me, it's more about flow. What
Okay.
songs allow me to kind of get in a flow-like state the quickest.
Mm-hmm.
And Through the Woods is just the sections just go so well together that it's just easy to.
In your fretboard journal interview, you mentioned playing the banjo.
Yeah.
Is this something you're actively doing at present?
Yeah, I actually Valerie June invited me to a banjo summit in January with her, which is super cool, but also super scary because I don't consider myself a good banjo player. I've been told I am, but it's just something I'm still learning. But banjo's so fun. So many different styles of playing, so many different it's a lot like guitar, really.
Yeah. So the banjo obviously has roots to Senegal and Gambia,
Absolutely.
West Africa. Can you talk about the importance for what you do of West African music?
West African music informs a lot of the rhythmic intuitions that I have, I think. Like, I tend to use syncopation and polyrhythm a lot, which is West African music is full of that. And just more recently, I just love listening to West African music. I have a friend who's on Urban Driftwood. He plays drums, Amadou Kiyate, who's like a 160th generation chord player or something ridiculous, and djembe player. And he's kind of turned me on to a lot of stuff. And I think more than anything, I like how West African musicians think about music. Music seems to inform their daily habits, and it informs like how they think about life, what lessons they take away from life. Music seems to teach them just how to be good people, and they don't shy away from the arts at all in their culture. It's revered, really. And I always felt like if we had more of that here in the U.S., I think that would help a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Just be better adjusted humans. But that's another conversation. In terms of how West African music inspires my music, I would just say rhythmic and melodic. How I think about melody, West African music has a ton of melody. It has its acclaim in like rhythm and drums and stuff, but
Sure.
Their melodic choices and sensibilities are like second to none to me. Especially the kora, any kora player. I'm trying to learn that too, and that's difficult. That's the hardest thing I've ever attempted. But any kora player, like, you'll get their sense of rhythm and melody and harmony all in one instrument, and it's
Well, those kind of mix into one hybrid structure in most of your playing too, I think.
Yes, which is also something I take away from West African music,
Yeah.
and really just the music I listened to as a kid too, like R&B, smooth jazz, that type of stuff. It's very melody heavy, but also like, I know smooth jazz gets a bad rep, but I'll include it anyway.
Hey, we all like hooks,
Same. Okay, cool.
I mean, that's what gets us there. Your piece, Juvenescence from Urban Driftwood, And that's one of the songs that you move from, or at least the footage I've seen of you playing that, you move from playing upright
Yeah.
against you to lap.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a few questions about that, but if
Yeah,
you'd
sure.
be willing to, I'd love to hear
Sure.
that. That's outstanding. Thank you so very much. Can you play us another song off of Urban Driftwood?
Sure.
And while you're tuning up, can I ask you, can you talk a little bit about the angled fanning frets you have?
Yes. So I like multi-scale guitars or fan fret guitars when the fan fret is not extreme. I've definitely seen guitars where the frets are just slanted, like they just look like hills. That's silly. But I have a slight fan fret because I play in open D a lot, and the multi-scale. It's a very slight multi-scale. I think it's 25.4 and 24.9 is the scale. Which is slight, but it definitely makes a difference in terms of tuning stability and just overall improving the depth of, or the richness of the guitar and its tone.
The
And
idea
just-
being that otherwise it would be, the tone would be
It
off.
would sound a little brittle, if that makes sense. If that word makes
Sure.
sense, it doesn't
Okay.
wouldn't sound as
Yeah.
rich.
Gotcha.
And yeah, just tuning stability is also a thing I've noticed. And it doesn't really, it feels more natural just to play with the fan frets to me.
Sure.
Because naturally, when you're going up the fretboard, your hand kind of closes in on itself. It
Yeah.
doesn't stay perfectly outstretched. At least mine, most people's hands don't. Maybe
Sure.
if you have big hands, they do. I don't know. But yeah, so fan fret definitely makes that easier, just going up and down the neck and up
Sure.
and down the, yeah.
Is this song, as the title suggests, in fact, about a dragonfly?
It is about what dragonflies represent,
Okay.
if that makes sense, or their symbolism. Yeah, and plus people, whenever I play the song, I played the song a lot when it didn't have a title, and I was kind of fishing for suggestions from fans and just audience members of shows, and they oftentimes said that the song kind of sounds like flying or some sort of flight.
Is that the symbolism you're
Yeah.
going for? Okay. Thank you so very much. That's a hard harmonic to get just right.
It is.
Is that on the 4th fret?
No, it's on the 7th, but there are notes ringing that I want to continue ringing, so I have to be very careful about where I go.
You of course look like you're playing a piano when you're tapping, I'm sure.
This song in particular, I feel like.
Do you play piano?
I did learn how to play somewhat proficiently in college and then forgot. So I did.
Happens. It happens. Yeah.
I need to kind of get back on that. But yeah.
Well, yeah, Yasmin, it's been really a delight to have you here.
This has been such an amazing time. Thank you so much, Leo, for having me.
Thanks so much for being here, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great day, and thank you again.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.